Good evening and welcome to Monkeys with Fire. How is everybody tonight? I hope you're all well. I hope you had a fantastic weekend. What did you get up to? Did you paint any minis or play any games? Do let us know in the chat tonight. So we do have a fun-packed week on the channel. On Wednesday evening, I shall be continuing making my dungeon tiles using the Game Master Dungeons and Caverns core set from the Army Painter. And then on Friday for TFI Games Night, we shall be returning to the sleepy town of Redview as we have another game of Chronicles of Crime. Looking forward to that. But tonight, what's happening tonight? Tonight we are going to have a live interview with Marcin Welnicki, creative director and designer of Aeon Trespass Odyssey. Marcin has come onto the channel several times before. They've always been fantastic interviews where we have learnt so much about this really highly anticipated game. And we're all so close to get for you gut backers to receive it, to be able to crack it open and put it all out on your table and find the delights that are held within. So I can see a lot of people joining us on Twitch and on YouTube. Welcome to everybody. We're going to pretty much let Marcin go through some major points, and then once we've done that, if you do have questions, then please do write them at that point. But don't put questions in just yet, because we'll miss it, unfortunately. So we'll put the questions at the end of the interview. But start scribbling them down now. If you've got something you want to ask, tonight will be the opportunity. All right, I think we should get things started. What do you guys think? Let's just do a quick shout out to everybody in the chat. So hello to Heath, and is that Uri Lennon and Kay Rakan, and we got Samalot and Amberden and Roga and Oscar and the Nerd YYC and Amberden. So hello to everybody. I hope I got all your names right. We got lots of new people here. And hello, Chris. Red Panda. Hello. And hello, Paul. But there are always more questions. There are always more questions. You're quite right. Okay. Let me just double check to see if Marcin's all ready. We're getting the thumbs up. All right. Let's press some buttons and hope this all works smoothly and professionally. Okay. All right, so we'd like to welcome Marcin back to Monkeys with Fire.
Hey, David.
Good evening. How are you, sir?
Good evening. I'm good. I'm really good. As you can see, we're in my office at the E2 headquarters. It's evening here, so I stayed quite a bit late to chat with you. But I'm very excited. We've got some fun stuff to go over.
I'm sure.
It's always a pleasure to be on your channel.
Well, thank you for sparing the time to be able to join us. I'm sure the rest of the chat, are really excited to find out all the things that have happened with the game over. In fact, it's possibly the last year since we last spoke.
Hopefully, yes. Hopefully, after the COVID delays, we hope to launch the game this year. So,
okay. Before we get started, just to make certain, can everybody hear Marcin perfectly clear and see the video just before we get going? I'm sure we can, but we'll just double check if somebody could just confirm in the chat for me.
Oh, I see. When I'm looking to the right, I'm looking at the screen where I have the chat. So I see someone is mourning my beard.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I did live it. But yeah, I feel great without it.
Without it. Okay. So for anybody who is not already familiar with Aeon Trespass Odyssey, do you want to give us the elevator pitch? What is the game? What is it all about?
Yeah, so one of our new hires said that it was basically Pacific Rim in ancient Greece, and in a way it is. So you're fighting giant monsters. You're going on an adventure on a giant ship throughout the Hellas, the whole of Greece. You're creating your base. You're crafting gear. You're fighting monsters. You're going on adventures. There's there's a lot of things you do in the game, and on top of that, there's a really large narrative strung throughout several campaigns. So it's something like I don't think that something on this scale has been done before in board games. As we really want. I always stress it when I talk about the game that we really wanted to have a mature and engrossing narrative. Something that's really like that's not only window dressing or something to get you from mission to mission or fight to fight, but has something to say and sticks with you after you finish the game.
Okay. Yeah. Well, having had opportunity to try the prelude back, I say about 12 months ago. What I saw initially there, it kind of blew my mind, and I think that was only the tip of the iceberg, wasn't it, for what this game has to offer?
We actually the game we have now it's better in every aspect. Like there's more of everything, but that's a given. But everything is more refined, more fine-tuned, and I think if you've played the Prelude, you haven't seen our new economy system yet or our diplomacy systems yet, because those are additions that we were able to make based on funding we got in the Kickstarter. And they became integral parts of what Atto is. So yes, I'm very proud of how we are intertwining the several aspects of the game.
Excellent. So the immense backing that the game received has actually, fully allowed the game to blossom then in different areas than it was initially planned. That's excellent.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we of course we wanted to achieve success, but we never imagined that it would become so big. So we're really glad to all our fans and backers because they made our dreams come true, and now we're able to make this game. And like each month we're hiring new people to help us with the game, so it's getting bigger and bigger, and we're expanding on all fronts. The last few weeks we've been expanding our beta testing teams. So in a room behind me there's a large room with tables set up for several different battles, and each day people come here and play 8 hours a day.
Wow!
Just so we know that the battles are balanced, that the gear is balanced, that there are no OP builds, that the economy is fine-tuned to what you're getting from the battles. Like there's a lot of intertwining elements, and everything needs to be tested. So. You can stop me.
No.
You can just stop me.
I never like stopping you because everything you're saying is just music to our ears. It's fantastic to hear. I mean, again, yes, as you rightly sort of started with that. When we last spoke, you were in a back room, possibly in your home, and now you've got yes. premises, and we've got multiple rooms of testing going on. It's definitely been been a year of increasing everything to do with not only the game but also the company. Yes.
Yeah, and I think that's like being able to make this project is one thing, but being able to sustain it as a business, to hire people, to let other people, to allow other people to work in the gaming industry, to create their own things, to have input into the production process, or the creative process, is something that's really like, this is something that gives me a lot of I never I never expected to be so excited about this part of making a board game. So the command is expanding. You know that we're doing another Kickstarter sometime. This is something that we probably will talk about later. And we also have plans further down the line with ATO and with other stuff. So as you said, we're expanding on all fronts.
Excellent. All music to my ears, as I say. Okay, so I mean, I did say I would sort of open the floor to you, and you can sort of guide us through the path as far as what's new. Tell us everything.
Well, how much time you have? So we can talk about like anything. Like there's, I can talk about it.
Sure. Do you want to go? Should we go through the list that you provided and start from that? So the first thing you mentioned was new primordial mechanics.
Oh yeah, that's like we can just talk about this topic for the next hour, because
sorry.
No, because there's we've shown a lot of the Hekaton and Labyrinthaurus battle, and we've expanded our blind testing to several groups around the world, which are now playing the Hekaton, Labyrinthaurus, and also Pursuer and Temenos battles. So the whole of Cycle 1 content is available to some people to just test it out. And we had really, like, when we designed everything, we had really a lot of fun doing that. And when we went to the second and third cycle, we wanted to up the game. So when people coming off the first cycle who think that they've mastered the game, I think are in for a surprise, because each new cycle like ramps up the difficulty, but in a creative way.
Right.
So, for example, the second cycle is all about aggression. So with Cyclonus and the Nietzschean, you need to be on the offensive. You need to be able to break their combos. This is a new mechanic introduced in this. I think we've talked about it in one of the updates. While the Chimera is also like this monster puts a timer on you, because you can die in several ways fighting her, and the most dangerous one is the ambrosia poisoning. She's the whole creature is made of ambrosia, so it kind of makes sense. And she constantly changes its state, its physical state, from being solid to gelatinous to corrosive. So you need to juggle a lot of equipment and a lot of weapons, and you've now got tools to transform your weapons, to call new weapons from your ship. So again, like cycle 2 is all about aggression and war, and it all concludes in cycle 3, where you probably mastered like every conventional mechanic of the game, and then we're throwing you a new wrench in the form of temporal mechanics. Like each of the Primordials in the third cycle has its own spin on this theme. But for example, the one of the Primordials that I think is a fan favorite, the Hypertime Oracle. She introduces a lot of new fun concepts, like the time front. The time front is a constantly moving piece of terrain. It's as wide as the whole board, and everything that crosses the border of the time front becomes erased from existence. So as you fight the oracle, your battle board literally becomes smaller and smaller. So you need to think about positioning a lot more. At the same time, on high levels fighting the oracle, she's also getting a lot stronger than the other primordials from the previous cycles, because she's basically skipping timelines to find the one timeline that she's the most powerful to defeat the current party of titans. So you're on a clock in a different way. What else? All the primordials in cycle 3 have some form of flying abilities, or are really tall. And so, well, this is something that we're building upon from previous cycles. In cycle 1, we had the Labyrinthauros and Temenos, who had the single space vantage points. This is one of our core mechanics, that you can damage the monster in such a way that you can then ride it or mount it and deliver a devastating blow from above. This mechanic is expanded upon in cycle 2 with the Chimera, which has several vantage points, and defeating her without using the vantage points is almost impossible. And we're expanding on this concept in cycle 3 with creatures that have several vantage points that are interconnected. So you're climbing basically the monsters one step at a time. And all of those monsters also have something we call the towering trait. So a trait that makes them a lot harder to kill if you're not fighting them from an elevated position, or you don't have any sort of flying, gliding, or other type of equipment or ability that allows you to get high really quickly. Okay.
You've wonderfully just answered a question from one of the viewers on Twitch there, which I hope that has answered it fully. Because yes, during the Kickstarter campaign, there was imagery of the large primordials that have platforms where you're able to put your titans building up. So that's essentially what you've just described there. This is a fundamental part of the game. This is something that as you just described, comes into cycle 2 and 3 onwards. Am I right in saying that?
It's actually, well, we can go to this is something that we're probably not doing, but I wanted to show everyone what we're working on. So if we can go to the Labyrinthauros mount.
So is it an image? Okay, so everyone just bear with me a second here while I press buttons and make things work. Hang on.
Yeah, because we started with the vantage point concept early on, and it's present in every cycle. The one thing that we tried to do, and I think it's really hard to pin down, is the vantage point miniature on the Labyrinthauros, because that's the smallest mini we're doing with a vantage point. And we tried to make it look cool with the vantage point. And this is the best effort yet, but I'm still not convinced that's what we'll be going with.
Okay. So you wanted the Labyrinthosaur OS mount, yeah? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the one with the mount. Yeah, because there's something more there, but let's leave it for.
Okay. Let's hope that that's the correct image.
Just tell me when it's up. I don't know if people know that we're on a delay here.
You should be able to see it.
Yeah, now I can.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. So this is the this is a concept of a subtle like element that we wanted to add to the Labyrinthaurus sculpt to just make the VP point accessible on the mini itself. I'm not sure that it looks great. Like I have my reservations that it works on this miniature. But we're trying a lot of things with this one. As you can see on the if you can if you look on the model itself, you can see that the bull is also going through a metamorphosis. We thought that the normal bull we had earlier was a bit tame compared to all the other fun Primordials we had. So we wanted to ramp up the craziness of the Primordial here. So we can see that its thorax is a lot bigger. It's like a that's the head. So the head is also the previous model was the model of a metal bull with some strange parts sticking out, but we wanted to make it more engrossing. So again, we've ramped up the creepy factor with the creature bursting from the mechanical bull. We don't have an image of the other side of the mini, but the front is actually something like a snail's head that burst out from the torso of the bull, and the actually just hanging on part of that creature. So it's a really fun image. Like everyone who sees it thinks it's really evocative of the way the bull fights and changes throughout the fight.
It's someone's just asking, is that an octopus's tail at the back, sort of end of the bull?
It's more of a cluster of tentacles.
Right. It's words escape me as far as describing this monstrosity. My goodness.
Yeah. So as you can see, we're having extensive use of VP points from the get-go, and we wanted throughout the game we want to have a progression of like a sense of growing power, a sense of evolving technology, evolving civilization. So things like the VP points, which are really hard to access in cycle 1, become more regular to access in cycle 2 and are really a must in cycle 3. And in the first cycle you're using things like a hook and rope, and in later cycles have more sophisticated equipment to just deal with those kinds of situations.
Right. Wow. Excellent. Okay, let me just bring you back on because we'll move off this. So bear with me 1 second. Do that. And that. Okay. There we go. Right. Okay. So continuing on then, you spoke about new maps.
Yeah, this is the highly debated topic. We reworked the art for the maps from the Prelude, which I know that some fans feel that the previous version was more evocative. But there were several really good reasons for doing it this way. We're doing it now, and we've talked about it extensively already, like things like readability and having the maps be more diverse, both in terms of singular maps that change when you sail to different parts of the map, but also between cycles. So when you see the different maps side by side, you'll notice a progression of color scheme. Not only one that goes back to the cycle color schemes we're working with, but with the themes of the campaign itself. Like we've set up the 3 cycles of the core game as a trilogy with the middle, with the beginning, middle, and the ending act. And those maps will reflect that journey. So I think that the new map look and its layout like really conveys the ways we're combining the mechanics of the game and the storytelling. Like this is because this is something that was really hard to do with the old style of the map. Like now we can have subtle cues to things that are happening on this style or happening in the story. Like you can really build a story from those styles. Like you can really figure stuff out. I'm not even talking about the secret stuff we're putting in there, just the whole feel. Like there's a lot of work going into both designing the map first, so creating a series of pathways for the players to explore. One that's both open enough to allow for exploration, but also has some direction, so people don't just wander around aimlessly or grind or something like that. Like we don't like grind. So a lot of thought goes into creating the map layout. Then it's then we create a really long Word document that describes the map tile by tile. So we're putting ideas, what can be what can be here, what should be here, how this tile or that connects to the other ones, how the map progresses, because we've tested a lot of like we had extensive text testing of each of the maps, so we know like for example the most common routes being taken, so we can take that into account to create more of a living world. Like you can if you're thinking about the map as a real place, let's say a living place, then you can sometimes anticipate what's going to happen, because again we give you some visual cues to that.
Okay. Again, just for anybody who is not familiar with the game, because and there's so many concepts within this game, to take time to explain each and every one of them would take us the entire interview, wouldn't it? But can you just sort of briefly just focus in on the sort of the map story sort of side of the game, yeah?
Yeah, I think this actually will dovetail great into our the other thing I wanted to talk about, the new diplomacy systems we've implemented. I've mentioned them before, and this is a really elaborate setup, because in a lot of like we wanted to have consequences in the game. We wanted for you to, when you go on an adventure and you make a choice, for that choice to matter. And there's a lot of story in the game. And again, this is a board game. We have our limitations of the storybook, even though it will be like so many pages of manuscript. But we decided to, like we knew we couldn't incorporate just every player choice into the great narrative, like each because again each adventure gives you several choices or branching paths. If we combined all of that in each cycle, we would have a few million combinations of things that would happen. So we decided to. So we firstly in the prelude we focused on the choice matrix. So when you made the choice, and it was an important one, you mark that choice in a table, and then and then other events would refer to it, and that's still in the game. So don't worry, that's still in the game. But with the additional funding, we were able to expand on that and now whenever you choose something in the game, you're influencing the situation on the island. In case of Crete, the Sparta. In case of the second cycle, and so on. So you're influencing the island, and you're siding directly or indirectly with one of that cycle's factions. And when you do, your diplomatic standing with that faction grows, or not, or it goes down if you're not playing nicely with them. And that standing is referenced in almost all adventures. So, for example, if you go into a Minoan stronghold and you've been on good terms with them, they may offer you hospitality. Or if you weren't that great with them, they may refuse help, or the adventure will take a completely different path. But the diplomatic system goes even further. It influences the whole economic system in the game. It influences the battles, because battles you're on the battle board, you'll have terrain tiles like cities that are connected with the faction you're currently, the faction of the tile you're currently on, and they have different rules depending on your standing. So it all, in a way, it all flows together. Like if you fight a battle and you let the city get destroyed, so that faction isn't really happy with you, so you got your diplomatic standing with them tanks. Then you're swimming. This is something like that you also see on the map tiles. Like you'll even know which tiles belong to which faction by the terrain or architecture that's there. Like we've created a distinct style for every faction, so you'll know where you are, and if this is something like if this is a region you want to enter with the standing you have with them. So well, where was I? You're coming out of a battle. Your diplomacy standing may go up or down depending on how the battle went. Then you have the exploration phase where you gather resources, and sometimes that gathering will be influenced by the diplomatic standing. And not only by the amount of resources you're getting, but there are different events happening during the voyage, depending on the standing with the faction. And of course, this will also influence the main storyline of the game.
Right. Okay.
Because, yeah. So that's a lot of intertwining mechanics that I think. But I think it's worth it. I think people will appreciate the way the game is shaped around your decisions in that way.
So it very much starts to become a sort of living, breathing world that you're sort of participating within. In that case, doesn't it? Your actions have consequences.
You can say that. Like there's so much going on in there. There's so much side content, like side stories or ancient stories that you may stumble upon. That I think you'll have this feeling of, this is just a world I'm walking through. Like this world is going on even if I'm not there. So I'm very proud of that aspect of the game.
Okay, here's a bit of a curveball question. Mm-hmm. Let's see, because so if obviously the game kind of broadly splits into two parts. We have the campaign, narrative, exploration sort of side, and then we have the battle board and fighting the primordials. Mm-hmm. If you were a player who wanted to sort of focus in on one particular area more so, is that something that's possible? Or do you...
So first of all, I think it's actually going like thinking about general ideas. The game is split into three parts. One being the battle, one being adventuring, and the voyage and economy is a game of itself. Like there's so much there with the tech trees with trading, with gathering resources, with diplomacy. So I think that it's fair to say that that's a game of its own that sits just between those other two. Like this is a medium that you're using to go from adventuring to battles. So the philosophy here is that we want everyone to play the game wholly. Like we don't want we when we design something and we think it's fun and it's engrossing and you're gonna enjoy it. So we're not really developing filler mechanics or something like that. So we want you to feel great when you're fighting, and think about what we're gonna do in the voyage phase or adventures. And when you're in the voyage phase or adventures, you're thinking about what will happen in the next battle. So in that way, we would really like everyone to play it all, like to take it all in, because the battles themselves are also meant as a storytelling device. Like the AI and BP decks of each monster really tell the story of the monster. They tell, like you can get a lot of hints about what's happening in the game world just by reading those cards or looking at the pictograms that are depicted there. Having all that said, we will have some, but we'll have some cards in the game, like a deck that will allow you to slightly modify some things in the game. Something like we actually wanted to add a scoring system to this part of the game, so you could, let's say, play the game and say, I really do like the battle aspect and the adventure aspect. I'm not that good at economy, so I'm gonna take this modifier card, and it's gonna give me some more resources each time I gather resources. Or someone that on the other side, on the contrary to this, things like let's say I'm great at the game. I know how to build the best builds for the Titans, and the Primordials are starting to get easier for me. I'm gonna play with this modifier that ramps up the difficulty. This is a concept that we're borrowing from video games, things like Halo, that have had skulls, for example, that allowed you to modify the difficulty of the game in fun ways. And we thought about it, and I think I don't know if we'll have time to do it, but we'd really love to add modifiers, like points modifiers to those skulls. So players would be able to just, when they are talking about the game, just say, okay, I've played the game with this. So they can either wear it as a badge of honor, or just know what was the experience of other players. Like, so in that way, we are introducing things that will help you focus more on this or that aspect of the game. But there's no skipping a phase mechanic. There's no skipping a battle mechanic, and we like if if we thought that something wasn't worth enough to play, if we thought that we should add a skip button to a part of our gameplay, we would just remove that part of the gameplay from the game, because.
Yes, I guess it's like the sort of Greek stories of old, isn't it? That the battles are just as an important part of the narrative as the adventures and the other elements. It's all one continuous part of a story, isn't it?
Yeah, and again, there's emergent storytelling in our game, and there's narrative storytelling. And we really like the blend of the two. Like, so you have some personal moments that are are part of the narrative, some events that you're taking part in. You're experiencing them more like a book or a movie. But then you take those experiences and go into battle with that context, and some things that happen in battle will also create stories for you. And I'm not only talking about that time that you made a critical hit and killed the Primordial in one one strike. I'm talking about the narrative seeds that are planted in the gear you're having or you're using, or the titans you're using, and how they interact with the various Primordials.
Yes. Okay. No, yeah. Again, everything you share just gets me more and more excited about the game. It really does. Okay, if that sort of covers then the diplomacy mechanic, then shall we go on to awakenings and summonings?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've got a new image somewhere with because when we introduced the awakenings in the Kickstarter campaign, we've shown the art as black and white, but we wanted to convey that sense of power even more. So each awakening card, it's going to be a supersized tarot card. So you'll feel when you use it, you'll already feel like you're using something special.
Shall I put this onto screen?
Yeah.
Is it's the Zeus card? I take it, yes.
Yeah, I think we've got like three. Like those are all the same image in a way. Just one is showing the full body art. One is showing the other side of the card with the rules, and then we have one with.
I've gone for the one which has the two up on there. So.
Yeah. So each card will have a full art back, and then you have all the rules on the back of the card. And the awakenings are really a really fun part of the game, and I think they never get old because of the I think we've struck a good balance of their quantity and their appearances in the game. So they're rare, but not that rare. So every once in a while you'll be able to awaken. It's always going to be an event in your game, and we're having a lot of fun with the concepts, with using the Greek gods as a template for some of the abilities, and for their interactions with other parts of the game. For example, the Chimera can swallow you whole, but you're still alive when you're inside the Chimera. you are slowly being digested, but you can try to fight your way out, and you can even awaken inside the Primordial. And when you do, you'll have a great time killing the monster from the inside. But also, for example, the Zeus god form gets +1 power inside the belly of a beast, because, as you know from myths, Zeus has a history of doing.
That's awesome. So for anybody who's not aware of what is this awakening mechanic, tell us right from the most basic level, just so that people can be equally as excited as I am about hearing this.
There are actually a lot of ways you can awaken in the game, but the main one, and the one you'll experience the most, is awakening through drawing an obol card. So when you're really in danger and you're close to death, you'll be drawing this from this really small deck. It's at the start of the game. It's just 2 cards. One card that says you live, one card that says you die. And when you draw the you died card, you have a roll to make once you've unlocked the awakenings. And if you do make that roll, you transform into a god form, into like you are channeling a part of one of the Greek gods. And and your stats change. You get new abilities and really crazy stuff. Like there's a lot of like these and the summonings are really, in a way, they are game breaking in that they are so powerful. But they do still have their limitations, which you'll find out about in the game, and the consequences of using those. But the fun part of awakenings, especially the awakening through an obol, is that after the awakening is a temporal effect. So you have 1 or 2 rounds in which you can use the power you're given, and if the battle doesn't end, you'll die because you drew an obol. But if you manage to kill the primordial while you're still awakened, you go on living. And this really creates a great mechanic, great dynamic for the players. There's a choice to be made here. How aggressive or how offensively you want to go in once someone is awakened. And there's a lot of awakenings in the game, and they have really varied abilities. Things like from Zeus, who's the god of thunder, to things like Demeter, who becomes immovable, to even things like Hephaestus being unable to die in any way while you're in that god form. So it's and when you awaken, you choose which one of the available ones you want to awaken into. So that's a really fun, empowering mechanic.
It does. It sounds it.
Of course. As I said, it's going to have some consequences. For example, your adversary moves on the map whenever you awaken. Like they feel that something has been awakened, and they can pinpoint your location, so they get that much closer to you.
Okay, and so how many god forms can you take then?
Could you rephrase that question?
So, well, how many god? I'm just going to read out the questions on the thing. So, how many god forms are there in total?
Oh, so we've revealed 8.
Okay. Okay. So, can you tell us the names of those 8 gods? Because anybody who knows their gods might have a clue then as to what type of abilities might be.
Sure. So we've got Zeus, we've got Athena, we've got Poseidon, we've got Hephaestus, we've got Ares, we've got Hermes, we've got Artemis, we've got which one? Demeter. Yeah, that's okay. The 8 we've got in the game. Revealed.
Revealed. Chris's Hades question mark maybe. Who knows? Who knows, Chris? Who knows? Excellent. Well, this does sound wonderful and so exciting a mechanic to have as part of the game. I love the idea that it's your final breath and then suddenly you explode into this super powered form, and hopefully it works out for you. It's great.
Yeah, it's like the pinnacle of the way the game plays, because with our inverted combat paradigm, the game is ramping up instead of ramping down, so you're getting stronger and stronger throughout the game. So this is like the cherry on top of that power curve. Like this is the most powerful you can get in a given battle, and it's really rewarding when you do. And again, as I said, there are other ways to awaken other than just being close to death or drawing an obol. So, okay. But these are for players to experience.
Question from Jeffrey. What happens when one of your characters die from drawing cards like one of the obol, which is quite random?
So your character doesn't die. You're in a way that metaphor from the beginning of the interview with the Pacific Rim in ancient Greece is apt. You're playing as Argonauts, which are controlling the Titans from the safety of the Argo. So your titans die, but those titans can be replaced. The normal ones can be replaced fairly easily, while the more powerful ones take a bit more, but they can still be replaced. What cannot be replaced, or is really hard to replace, are the Argonauts, so player characters. But they're also really hard to kill. Like normally they don't die in battle. There are a few cards that may threaten them, but mostly they don't die. There are some rare instances in the story or in battle that an Argonaut may die, and that's a really special event for the players. You do get to eventually you get a new character. You get a new Argonaut card and new Mnemos cards, and there's other stuff. I really don't want to spoil now, but there's other stuff that happens when your Argonaut dies. But we're treating the character deaths as an event. Like this is something that defines the campaign when some Argonaut dies, while the titans you're controlling may perish a lot more.
Okay, all right. Oscar is asking, will all awakenings be represented by a mini?
Eventually, like we in the core game, in the core game box, we only have one mini. This is a stretch goal we unlocked during the campaign. So we've got the Zeus god form mini in the box, but we do want to eventually release all of them. I don't know what form that release would take at this moment, but yeah, that's something that we're really interested in, because the art is too good and the concept is too fun to just not do it.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, let us move on then and ask about the new user interface, user experience. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, that's this is also something that we've put a lot of effort in. Like we wanted to, because there's a lot of games that really stride the line when it comes to UI. That are really set in let's say the old ways of doing things. That the UI is just something that's there. That's a like a necessary evil type of thing. Why we do like really slick and intuitive UIs. So that's something that we've worked on constantly from the get go. And I think when you compare the Prelude one we had to the one we've got now, you'll see what a difference a great UI makes. And ATO isn't the easiest of games. It starts easy, but again, there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of symbols. There's a lot of rules. So the UI UX is there to help you along, to just make it as intuitive as it can be to play the game without hassle. So we're trying to use as many symbols as we can on the cards, for example. Not like we're trying to find a balance between text and symbols to just make things really easy for people to grasp. And we're using different types of UI to get there. We're also using different types, like for example, when an ability first appears on a card or a Titan sheet, etc., it's explored fully there. So you've got the whole rule there beside you. You can just read the whole text and know what that thing does. And gradually, once that ability or effect or something is used more and more, we're just going back to just the keyword for that, because we know that you've learned to play what this kind of thing does. I don't know if do you have any question about the UI. Like, is there, because again, this is a big game, so we've got a like there's a lot of work going into even the tiniest of elements. Things like we're doing, which we've also talked about to some extent. Each of the cycles has a different color scheme, and that color scheme is then translated into the UI. The UI uses primary colors of that color scheme, and that also translates to the icons and to the flourishes we use on the cards. So, for example, when you have the card backs of the AI and BP cards for the Primordials, they have a distinct, like they are all black, but they have distinct color schemes. So you instinctively know which cycle this card belongs to. And as we're using our backs as a gameplay mechanic, you can try to guess what actions the Primordial can do or will do, or what BP card you're aiming for, just based on the back, because they are tiered, and each of those tiers has an evolving pattern that's tied to that cycle. So, for example, for cycle 1 Primordials, you have a labyrinth symmetrical design that's gets more and more extensive when you're looking at the higher level cards of the game. This also translates to our adversaries, which have we haven't shown it yet, but they have a color scheme of their own. So when you see them, you know that this is something different than the normal Primordials we're facing, because again the whole UI changes with them.
Okay. No, it's again, it's fascinating because, of course, every element of the game requires a degree of thought behind it, and you have really gone for it in the fact of it's all communicating something. If you can, for the player to absorb for the entire experience, it is fascinating.
Yeah. So so even though the game is really big, I don't really like wasted space. So I really want to jump back everything with thoughts, let's say. I want everything to have meaning. So there's a lot of meaning put into the story, into the items, the names of the items, the art for the items, the fluff of the items. It's either deepening the lore or referencing something. Like you'll find a lot of Easter eggs in the game too. And you find a lot of in jokes also. So yeah, so I'm really fascinated with this type of really detailed approach to creation. So you can play the game for hours and hours and then get back to it and still find something new or something you've missed. Yeah, so this is very important to me, and I try to inject it in everything.
Excellent. Well, looking forward to it. Okay, what do we have here? New minis hitting the store.
Yeah, so there's so we're last time, no, not the last time, I think like 2-3 months ago we've shown several new, like in a zoomed out shot, but we've shown several new sculpts that we want to introduce to the store. We know which ones will be the next to hit the store. Things like the Gravedigger Titan. It's a Titan that's based on the Ermantian Borer, a Primordial we've released last year, but isn't in the core box. It's part of our Sins of Heracles line. We want to release the Chimera finally to the public. I think it will be the most massive miniature we've released to our shop, even larger in bulk than the Temenos. And we were after finally sending the nymph resin collections to our backers last month. We'll be releasing the Ambrosia nymph to the store for everyone. This is something that was exclusive to our Kickstarter campaign up until now. So that's the immediate future. But going forward, we do have a lot of things to come. You can see behind me on the right, that's a vacuum chamber and pump. So we're gearing up to also create miniatures here at our office. That will let us. We had some difficulties throughout the year because of COVID, with mostly with shipping things, and I think that's something that a lot of the industry is dealing with right now. So we want to cut the supply lines a bit and do more work here at our HQ, so we can have a quicker turnaround. And I have, I know we have some art to show, but I also have some of the new monsters here. I know you always love to look at those. This is just a base. It's really unassuming, but the creature that goes on this base is from the fifth cycle. It's a really fun creature, an underwater creature. I don't know if you've looked at our site for this one. It's called the Dragon of Phobos.
No, so you're gonna have to hold it up. That's it.
Yeah, it's actually quite massive in that it's made of several parts. That. Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, I won't be able to put it here because it's got 3 tails. But it's one of the fun creatures of the 5th cycle of the game. And it's dealing with things like fear, terror. You're really deep underwater. You're grasping for air, and the creatures there, like this will be the pinnacle of difficulty in our game. If you go if you are able to beat the 4 previous cycles, the things here will still be able to surprise you. And I think I've got one more here. This is something that I think we've shown briefly in one of the updates last year, or even in 2019. This is a base from a creature that's part of the Sins of Heracles line, and this is a fun creature for me because, as you know, we're doing this Sins of Heracles line, which focuses on the labors of Heracles. And I remember one of the conversations I had with Mateusz, our art director, when he asked me how I'm gonna do the Aeon stables, like how do I make a monster out of that one. So I did, and this is the one. This is one of the larger monsters. It's really big.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and it's really fun. Let me. Yeah, it's got these horse heads or tentacles, or well, I'm not gonna spoil what they are, but like this is one of the most imposing creatures we have.
So is it wrapped around a building? Can you lift it up?
Yeah, this is like a walking city, like something like I don't know if you've watched Miyazaki's films, something like Haru's Castle or something like that. Like it's this great structure, the stables,
yes,
and those all those let's say appendages.
Oh my goodness! Can you just bring it more into the center and just hold it up a couple of inches? There we and then just rotate it round so we can.
It's still, again, you can see that there's some parts missing.
Yes,
here.
yes.
I got them here, but yeah.
Oh
It's
my goodness! This is a painter's dream. Look at this;
yeah,
it's beautiful.
it's an awesome concept, and I think that the concept of the creature itself is gonna be a wild one. Without spoiling anything, there's gonna be a second miniature that comes with this one.
So just since you sort of mentioned it, there's a question that came on here.
Yeah.
So the Sins of Heracles, will it be released as an expansion?
Well, we don't talk about that. So
do we not?
We I'm joking. No, we don't talk about.
We talk about everything on this channel.
What I can say to you is that there's going to be at least 12 releases in the Sins of Heracles line. And I think we have one exclusive mini from that line to show, right?
If you tell me which... Oh, so I'm assuming Sins, yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can start with the art piece.
Yes.
We've shown that art piece earlier this year. Last year, time flies. So we've shown this art before,
Okay.
and people did guess what creature this one was. As you can see or not,
it'll appear in due course, as you say. It's a bit of a delay.
So this is when we think about the creatures we're doing in ATO, we want to have a varied menagerie of creatures. So we didn't have a spider in our ranks, so we wanted to make one, especially that in the later cycles of the game, there's a few technologies that the Argonauts acquire that allow them really fast movement around the map. So what better way to think about what creature would pose a threat to them as something that moves as fast as them at that point. And I think we can go to the miniature for this model, because this is also like I think a great mini, and you can see a lot of details on that one. This is a great I think a great showcase miniature. We like when a lot of our minis are more like statues, but this one is in full motion. You can even see a Titan there, so you can grasp the scale of the miniature.
I'm going to just remove your little video window so we can zoom on into the miniature.
Sure.
But
go ahead.
But as some people are saying, we're not going to sleep tonight. This is disgusting in an absolute positive way, of course.
Yeah. So this is like I don't want to spoil much about the creature, but it's not a typical spider, as you can see. There's a lot of things going on. I can tell you that this one is called the Cattle of the Moirai. As we do play with the names of the labors a bit here, and this is a really fun concept for us, both from a design standpoint and from an art standpoint. So I hope people really appreciate how, like, if you look at I'm really proud of our miniatures and the ones we did over the years, but I think that each year we are getting better at it, and the newer concepts that are coming out are, I think, simply phenomenal. And this is just the tip of the iceberg of what we have to show. Not today, maybe, but in the near future. So this is the Cattle of the Moirai, another part of the Sins of Heracles line. I know that people are asking a lot about what the sins are, or when they are coming out, etc. Again, this is something I think that we will talk about more later this year, like when we were we know that the game's shipping, and we can talk more about what's going to happen in the future.
Okay.
On that note,
yes, go on, please do. Yes, go on.
On that note, well, we've this won't be a surprise to anyone, but we did announce a second game that we're working on, Kingdoms Forlorn, and this is also something that's dear to our hearts. And even though we delayed it because of COVID. But because we wanted to focus on delivering ATO first, and then going into something new. But it doesn't mean that pre-production on the project stopped by any means. So I think we've got a lot of art that's been already has been circulating for a while now from the game. We can talk about that a bit. Kingdoms Forlorn is we can start with I don't know, with the knight, with Renholder or Sir Songe.
Okay, so in the order I've got here is Egg Knight. Shall I start with that character?
Sure. We can go with Egg Knight. This is a really fun fun concept. Kingdoms Forlorn is our take on medieval fantasy, but it's gonna have a distinctly ITU spin on it. The game itself is drawing a lot from ATO, but it's gonna be a distinct system. It's still gonna be inverted command paradigm in that you're gonna have the exciting battles in there, but there's really a lot that's different in during battles and outside of them. And the Ignite is one of the many creatures you'll have to face in the game. It's one of the, let's say, mid-tier bosses in a sense. It's the creature itself is actually around 2.5-3 meters tall, and it's gonna be a larger figure, and it's gonna be more imposing when you put it besides one of the knights. I don't know if we have. I think we have the model also.
The render, yes. Yeah. Chris is just saying Humpty Dumpty got a promotion.
Well, there's a reason we're showing the miniature only from the front here, because again there's stuff going on there, which we don't want to spoil. But if you can zoom in, you'll see the level of detail we're going to have on those minis here. Like you can see each scratch, each dent in the armor. So we're this is one of the early game challenges, let's say, because the Kingdoms Forlorn, unlike ATO, will also have some mob enemies. So the combat is gonna be a bit dungeon crawly, but not much. Like we do like our sophisticated AI systems in the game, and we do love our co-op mechanics, and for that we need a specialized board. But we did want to introduce that classic type of party of adventurers versus a mob mechanic. So that's going in there. And we can go to the, let's say, maybe the Renholder, one of the knights.
The next one is going to be the Panzer Dragon.
So we can go to Panzer, but
right, you want to go to? I'll see if it works.
We can go to Panzer Dragon. But I would like you to leave the next one for last, if we can. There
you go. Is that Renholder? Yeah.
Yeah, we can go with Renholder.
There you
go. So the knights are also a concept we want really to explore in the game. This is the core identity of the game and of the players. So every player in the game is going to be some kind of knight. But that doesn't mean that we don't have different types of knights, and this one is an Eldritch Knight. He's actually one of the few spellcasting characters we're going to have in the game. Knights in our game, mages in our game can cast spells. The armor doesn't hinder them in any way. So this is a fun concept for us. And each knight is going to have a unique story to them, something that you'll be able to explore independently of the other knights. But there's also going to be a lot of customization going on, so you'll be able to tailor your knight in the way you like them to.
Should we take a look at the render?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I really like the look of the renders here. I think the steel shader really brings out the details of the minis, and that's everything that we can do in plastic. It's like we really put a lot of effort into checking and double checking the minis, so we know that everything is, even if you look closely at the belt buckles or the buckles on the torso, you'll see that we've made sure that those things are castable.
That's wonderful. It's beautiful detail.
Yeah. And we can go to Sersonge, maybe. It's going to show a bit of a quirky personality of our world. As I said, this is our take on medieval fantasy. So there's a lot of fun elements and really distinct elements, and things like monkeys being there is part of it.
Oh, we like monkeys. We like monkeys on this channel.
I bet you do. So Sersonge is a night tracker. He's really good at hunting things, and he uses his pet monkey for that purpose. It's a trained monkey that can track the monsters and then find their weak spots. And then there's a distinct Don Quixote feel to that character. And I think when we go through the model for this one, it's also a fun one.
Oh yes, this is going to be top on the painting list. It's got to be done, hasn't it? My goodness, look at that.
Well, that's the I can tell you that that's not the only monkey or ape that we're gonna have in the game.
All right, okay.
And yeah, but we're also gonna have the thing that people also like a lot about medieval games. We're gonna have dragons in the game. And the Panzer Dragon is the one we used as the reveal image for the game. And this is also something that you'll notice the distinct armor the dragon is wearing, and some patterns that may have been repeated on one or two of the previous minis or concepts.
Give me a second to bring up.
Sure. I'm just
the dragon. Hang on a second. Hang on. So let me press.
So even though it's a different kind of game, we are approaching it in the same way as ATO. So we're building a world first and then populating it. So concepts like architecture of a given region or a style of armor used in a given region are things that we're actively thinking about. So you'll be able to just look at a creature or a weapon and tell from which part of the world that thing comes from, just by looking at the distinct patterns or let's say smelting techniques that were used. So this is our take on one of the dragons. We do like original stuff. So we decided to put in armor. It's actually quite a complicated story how that dragon came to be and what its part in the current world is. But it's gonna be a huge miniature. It's gonna be the base is gonna be 100 millimeters. So taking into account the wingspan, I think it's gonna be the widest mini we've ever done up to this point. And again, if you look at even though it's a giant miniature, there's so much detail there.
Shall I go to the render?
Yeah, please do. I'm really excited about this one, both in gameplay concepts and lores, and I really want to really want to paint this one. This is
oh my goodness!
And this is also not the only dragon that we're gonna have in the game. And similarly to ATO, we really like to create the gameplay and art at the same time. So things you see on the miniature are things you're gonna interact with during gameplay. So the types of attacks the creature is doing, or the things you may experience in the battle are really shown here. Yeah. So I'm really excited. We're not talking in detail about the game yet, because we do want to focus on finishing up ATO first. And when we know that everything's that we have the final files, that we have for every text, that everything is edited, that every content is locked and it's printing, and again then we have nothing to do, then we can just open the floodgates on Kingdoms Forlorn. But I think that people are gonna like what they see here, and I think that a taste of also what the new approach. Oh, maybe we could take questions first, and do this as something that we can talk at the end or show at the end of the...
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so here we go. Chat. You've been so patient. If you have any questions now for Marcin regarding Aeon Trespass Odyssey, type them on in. Let's pass them on over. Let's get those answers for you. I can see that Samalot is asking there, how is the progress going on Wave 2? So let's start with that one.
Wave 2? Well, we still haven't delivered Wave 1. But if you're talking about design, well, we've got the core concepts of the the way we approach game design is when we do pre-production on each content piece of the game, we're thinking both in terms of story, in terms of art, and in terms of gameplay. So there's a lot of concepts that are already created, things like weapons and primordial mechanics, etc. Like I could put together each primordial from every of the expansion cycles and just play them now, because those concepts were so strong that even when we did focus, and when we still do on playtesting and finishing up the core game of ATO, ideas sip into both expansions, and work on each expansion is going faster than the previous one, because both of the experience, because of the team that's expanding rapidly, and because of the concepts that are built upon. So I would say they are quite like we're not doing active testing for either of the expansions, for Curse of the Babylon or the Black Flame of Atlantis at this moment, because we do want to finish the core game first. But I think that it's gonna be like those expansions will come quicker than you think, and so they will like we do have rolling delay on them because of the core game, but we are doing everything in our do everything we can to just close the gap between the core game and the expansions. So I think the wait for the expansions will be a lot shorter than for the core game.
Okay. Lorna's saying, as someone who backed a few Kickstarters and then had the company go quiet about them so I lose interest before they turn up, I'm super grateful to see you're back out here generating hype once again now that delivery is on the horizon. More companies should do this. I backed for the base pledge, but I might be interested in upping to the full pledge. Is there any way for me to do that, or do I just need to add the expansions and pay accordingly?
No, you can. Well, like we thank you. First of all, thank you for the interest. And no, you can just message us, contact us through our official channels, like the office at E2, itustudio.com email address, and we can manage your pledge to just turn it into a 5 cycle, for example, so you don't have to pay extra. Especially as I've seen someone asked, have we finalized the decisions with the 2 expansions? Yes, we do want to have them like on one when we proposed during the one of the updates to combine the 2 expansions to 1 box. We're met with overwhelmingly positive reception, so this is the way we'll be going. This will allow us to add even more content. We've shown one of the new titans from the Haka, the Shadow Dancer, that will be adding to that complete expansion box. It will also allow us to create more space for storage for things such as styles or future content. And finally, we will be able to more tightly connect both of the expansions, storytelling-wise and gameplay-wise. When we create a cycle, we don't think of it in vacuum. So, this is a lot of fun things that you'll discover in the game is that things that you've met or fought or experienced during one cycle return in the subsequent cycle in completely new ways. And I'm not talking about battles, I'm talking about discoveries. Like so you do have a sense of progression from one cycle to another. It's not just like one cycle is a complete story and then you start somewhere else. There's a connection there. So you even if you're developing something new, the base of that, the foundation of that has been laid in the previous cycle. So we really did want to have something like that in the expansions, and now we will. So I'm really excited about that.
Okay.
I think like for me personally, I think the cycle 4 and for now the cycle 4 primordials are the most fun. I think like there's a lot of fun new mechanics going on there that really turn everything on its head in the game. So
right. Yeah. Oscar is asking, are the nymphs usable in game? And the minis, such as, I'm not going to be able to say this, I'm terrible with names, the Bora and the Cerberlich, will they get gameplay content in any way?
So first the nymphs. The nymphs gameplay content from the nymphs is already in the core game. Like this is also something that we did as a stretch goal during our campaign. And you have everything to use the nymphs, which will be summons in the game. You'll have everything you need in the game box. Having that said, some of the nymphs appear on the board, on the battle board, or on the map as entities there. And currently, the way to depict them in the core game is through markers or tokens. So you can use the scalps of the nymphs instead. So yeah, but those resin miniatures are completely optional.
Okay.
And for the boar and several lich. So I'll put it that way: that we, as I said, when we create something, we always think about gameplay too during the conceptualization of an idea. And we do want to deliver gameplay for each and every miniature we create eventually. So there is a good chance that those monsters will see gameplay.
All right, excellent. Is the timeline from the last update still good? I.e., when do you expect to start shipping?
Yeah, although with the things that were going on during January, with the constant container shortages in China, with the delays that everyone has been experiencing, it's let's say fingers crossed. Like on our end, it's going great, and I hope that we can deliver with that timeline. If something changes, I will let you know, as I always did, through an update. So
yeah. Yes. Yeah. I mean, as Lorna was saying, you are very, very good as far as communicating all the little changes and that. So where some Kickstarters can go kind of quiet, you're anything but. Which is all good.
Again, this is something like I would, if I could, I would post those updates more frequently, because again, there's so much to share, and I would like to spill everything out, because that's so much fun for us to just like there's a lot of things that we also kept close to our chests. Like there are things that we purposely don't talk about, because we want players to be surprised when they get the game box. I think that surprises and twists are really important in a medium. But I do want to really, like, I this is fun for me, like talking about the game, sharing those ideas, seeing what people think about the things I'm saying about the game. It's really fun for me. So yeah, so I do intend to keep on communicating with you.
Good. Sire Text is asking, will the book from ATO be somehow compatible with, I'm assuming, dry wipe markers, since you're able to, make notes and marks on the book?
Yeah, that's a quite interesting idea or question. Well, we did like we did like the storybooks themselves. There will actually be 3 storybooks. I don't know if we've talked about it, but the book was getting so thick that we decided to divide it into 3 separate books. So you'll have each book for each cycle as a separate entity. This will also allow you to avoid spoilers for the latter campaigns when you go through them. And there will be spaces that you can make notes on, especially as the adventures in the game will have things we call fate boxes or story boxes that you mark to note that you've already went through this adventure. This is one of our legacy light mechanics that will allow you to play the game again and experience different adventures during your time, because those adventures that you've already went through will be inaccessible in a subsequent playthrough. So in that sense, we will, although we never thought about doing like full support for using markers. Maybe because I'm like really I really like my books in a pristine condition. So no, like we like I don't want to spoil some stuff in those books. Suffice to say that there will be things that will also help you track the adventures and your progress besides just marking them in the book. And there's a fun way we're doing that in our books.
And there we go. We'll leave it at that. We'll cut it dead there. Yeah. Excellent. Okay. Aurelian is asking, is the game enjoyable and easy to play as a solo player?
Yeah, I think so. Like there's of course more overhead to manage when you're playing solo, but we're testing the game in a lot of configurations, and it's really fun with 2. It's really fun with 3. It's fun with 1. It really depends on on your approach to the game, let's say, because I think that if we're talking about something like downtime, I think the most downtime when you're playing solo is deciding on the loadouts for the Titans. But if you're experienced some other recent releases, things like, let's say, Gloomhaven or Kingdom Death, things like that, if you think that those games are playable solo, then ATO will be probably more approachable. In that there's like we're taking a lot of steps to starting from a really extensive tutorial to aids for players for the game to be solo friendly. You still have to play with a full set of 4 Titans during the battles. Well, there are situations where we will play with 3, but let's leave it at that. But I think it's completely manageable from the, like, let's say, the mechanics standpoint.
Okay. We've got a nice question here from Sunflower. May I ask what inspires you in life and in games?
That's a really in-depth question. We're now in our second hour of the interview.
Yes. We don't have enough time, do we?
Well, yeah, but there's a lot of things. Like I from things that I probably will be obvious, like other games or other media, to things like philosophy. I've studied sociology, and that's also something that really made it into ATO. And there's a surprisingly large amount of personal experiences that are going into it, because as you go through life, you experience really different things and different emotions, and you're dealing with new and complex situations. And it's also something that again, I before I became a board game designer, I was also a writer. I've published several novels here, and I think when I it's not something that that was really that apparent to me when I did that, but because again, those were also fantasy or science fiction novels, but when I went back to them, I noticed that they had a really almost biographical in some ways feel to them, in that I did work through some things in my life or some emotions through that creation process. And with ATO, it was more conscious. Each cycle of the game focuses on a different emotion, a different problem, a different conflict, and it's taking into account that it's a game about giant monsters and titans controlled from a giant ship. There's a fair amount of groundedness into the conflicts that are depicted in the game, and the voice of the player characters. anxiety or depression are really part of the first cycle's storyline. That was really a really personal experience of mine from a few years back, before I founded ITU. And I think you'll find a lot of, let's say, sincere thought about society and the way we interact with all the social functions of society. Stop me if I stop making sense, but
no. It sounds it's good. It's good to see and to hear that that what is a board game, but it's very, very deep in its thought process and in some of the themes and some of the messages. And that's what we want from our sort of media and entertainment. We don't want, a veneer. We want to have a bit of depth to it, don't we?
Yeah, I think that you're gonna see more and more of it as the hobby, like the section of these big giant games, adventure games, narrative games, evolves and matures, and you're gonna see a lot more this type of stories that have more meaning, that try to tell something other than just to entertain.
Yes.
And we do want to entertain with ATO. Don't don't think otherwise. But we also do want to share some stuff and make you think. So
good. No, excellent. I guess yes. Shipping and fulfillment dates are always going to be high on the list of questions. So Malik is asking here: how do shipping delays in January affect ATO, which isn't launching until the end of Q2?
Well, we don't really know the extent of the delays. This is something that's a rolling delay. So we hope that things are sorted out by the time we're shipping ATO. Like on this note, I'm actually quite happy that we had to have this delay, because if we did ship in January, this would be a nightmare for everyone. Like if our games got stuck somewhere for months on some railroad station, and like I'm really feeling for the game creators that are struggling with the shipping woes now. Hopefully this is also something that's been made even more complex with Brexit. We've tackled that subject in one of the updates from the taxes perspective. But this is something I'm not envious about, and I hope that once the vaccine rollout throughout the world progresses for the next few months, that things will calm down and we will be able to get back to let's say a semi-normal way of doing things. Because last year with like this is again we could talk about how COVID and last year has affected our progress here, and I think we've made a great recovery, but again this was a really hectic time for us.
Okay, I'm very conscious of the time, and of course you have been talking near enough non-stop, so I think we've answered the majority of questions there. But you're experienced of coming onto this channel, and you know that I never let you go without you sharing something else. So I'm going to twist your arm from behind your back slightly here. What's something you can share with us that?
So when we, it's no secret that when ITU was launched on the success of our resin nymphs line, it was something that really helped us boosted us and helped us create what you're experiencing today. So when we were thinking about Kingdoms Forlorn, we thought that we could do something similar. Like that was the nymphs were a fun way of introducing the ATO world, and they eventually made their way into the game itself through the summonings. And we thought long and hard what we could do with this concept in Kingdoms Forlorn. And we found, I think, a great way to do it, and one that will be even more intertwined with the game itself, both in the story aspects of the game and the game world, but also in mechanical terms. So I wanted to introduce something. I think you have that final art I've sent you. That we will be doing a new line of resin miniatures for Kingdoms Forlorn called Princesses and Princes of the Forlorn Kingdoms, which I'm really proud.
Shall I put this on screen then?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And I think that a lot of people will be really excited to learn that Mateusz, our art director, is again taking helm on this part of Kingdoms Forlorn. So you'll be able to experience his superb art firsthand. So we'll be doing a line of miniatures that depict the princesses and princes of the Forlorn Kingdoms. This will be something that will help us introduce the concepts of kingdoms, both in the world building aspect and of what will be what will come in gameplay terms from those places. So this one is the princess from the Sunken Kingdom, a kingdom that was one day swallowed whole by a torrent of mud caused by extensive rains. And that kingdom was lost, like most of the Forlorn Kingdoms, for centuries, until they suddenly reappeared from the mists one day. Its geography completely transformed, centuries of earthquakes and mudslides, and yet the princess of that kingdom is said to still roam the halls of the royal castle. And as you can see, we are playing with the concepts of those kingdoms by introducing some foreign aspects into the styles of the kingdoms. You'll see when we reveal more, you'll see how other kingdoms are shaped by really distinct influences from our own world and from other places. And yeah, I'm very excited for this one. This is something that we've also been working on for some time, and I can't wait to share more about it. Not so not so long from now.
Right. Well, I look forward to it. I mean, of course, the nymphs was the gateway to Aeon Trespass Odyssey, wasn't it? And this, of course, is a similar pathway. And I look forward to seeing what you reveal in due course.
Yeah. I think we'll we'll be back here sooner than you think with more content to show.
Excellent, and as you know, you're always welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, let's just press that. Do that. There we go. Right then. Well, I think that's probably a good place to wrap things up this evening. So, Marcin, once again, thank you so much for your time this evening. Thank you for all the wonderful information you've shared with us. I am as much pumped and excited about the the launch of the game. I cannot wait, as I'm sure everybody in chat shares the same feeling.
Oh, thank you for having me. Thank you for supporting us with your voice and backing us. Again, I can't talk about this enough. Like, there wouldn't be IT without our backers. So they are the ones who we should be thanking. And we hope that you're blown away by the game when it eventually arrives at your doorstep.
All right, excellent. I guess that just leaves me to bid you sort of good night and farewell.
Good night to you too, and hear from you soon.
Yes, indeed. Well, thank you so much. Bye for now. Then.
Bye, guys.
Okay then, and so our thanks to Marcin for tonight's interview. I hope you guys enjoyed that. That was brilliant. There's just so much to this game to discover, and I kind of like that some of it I'm not quite familiar with yet, that I will then be able to discover it in my own time when I break open that cellophane and lift that cover off. I think that's part of the whole experience of a new board game, isn't it? It adds to all of the excitement. And of course, those miniatures look absolutely fantastic. Right, thank you so much, everybody in the chat this evening. Your company is, of course, always very, very welcome. I hope that I will see some of you on Wednesday night, where I will be continuing building my dungeon tiles using the Game Master set from the Army Painter. If you're not familiar, come along on Wednesday to check that out. Let's see who we need to thank in the chat tonight. Is that working? So, thank you to Sire Text for the follow, and to Mr. Snowyak, the Island Painter, for the resub. All right then, there we go. Just leaves me to wish you all a good evening, and until Wednesday evening, bye for now.